Hi
Hey
guys.
guys!
Hello, what's up?
Welcome back.
Welcome, welcome. Jaley, do you want to do your intro?
Oh, sure. Hi guys. Sorry, I had technological difficulties. It had my brain going crazy. My name is Jaley. Hi guys.
Hey guys, my name is Emily.
And I'm Talking Head Rima. Guys, I do exist. I was once part of the channel. I'm not just a voiceover, but you'll find me in some really old videos of just chosen anonymity. You can do that when you create a channel, I guess. You have a little bit of liberty to be a bit anonymous. But in any case, guys, we are happy to see you again. And I know the first comments are going to be, "You're so late. You're so late." I know we're so late, but
So,
better late than never is our motto. So,
mhm.
so we eventually got together, guys. This is the first time this month in April that we're seeing each other. So we're very excited. And it is not very frequent that we can arrange these. So excited to check out Rama's or Namit Malhotra's Ramayana. Obviously, this is with Ranbir, Yash, and the music is by Hans Zimmer, A.R. Rahman. So epic music. We have talked about this before. I would
Yeah.
like to preface a bit because it has been out for a while. I believe it's been out for 2 weeks, which is not too bad by our timeline, but it has generated ample controversy, I would say, or just online conversation, because again, Ramayana is very close to so many people's hearts. It's a living deity that's being worshipped and prayed by so many people, so people have very strong takes. To give you a bit of history and context, guys, so back in the 80s, I believe, on television, so there used to be a Doordarshan, which was a national sort of a broadcast in India by the Indian government. And at that time, you didn't have cable TV as much, so you didn't have many options of channels. So everybody would watch the same shows. And they had an original Ramayana and Mahabharata created by two different creators who those were like beloved shows. So people would wake up Sunday or Saturday, whenever it would be broadcast, sit with their families and watch the show
Mm-hmm.
together. So it was a very, it's part of their, not just the history, the religion, the tradition, but it's also part of people's childhood, their nostalgia with these characters. And, there's a lot of expectations. We have had a unfortunate debacle with the prior Adi Purush film. So people are very, very sensitive to what this is going to turn out to be. But you have a huge star cast with Ranbir, Yash, and Sai Pallavi, who we haven't seen until now. So we are, guys, we're going to watch this with a clean slate. We have really not much to go on. And we may not have such pointed takes, just to let you know, but we'll give our honest opinion nonetheless. So without further ado, let's just get into it. And so this is going to come out Diwali, which I believe September. So it's gonna get there at some point. All right, ready? One, two. Oh, guys, like and subscribe if you're new
Oh
to the
yes.
channel. 1, 2, 3, play. Play. Okay.
There we go.
So we do have headphones, so we're
Oh
good.
yeah. We're so ready for a better experience. Bird.
Mm.
Chaos. So that's Lord Ram.
Pretty epic bow.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. This thing is huge.
5,000 years. Wow.
Oh wow.
So that's Ranbir Kapoor.
Mm-hmm. Whoa. Looking pretty epic.
So this is, I think, Ravana, the villain, the
Oh.
antagonist.
Wow. Really interesting. I like the mechanics of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to see that after all of it seems so like almost like the big ogres and stuff, and then it's like, ooh, technology.
Yeah, so guys, I want your honest take, and I'll give a bit of context to the story, a little bit of reminder of Ramayana's story to give you more information, I guess, about the scenes. But yeah, tell me what you think.
I mean, it
I
looks
mean, I
epic for sure.
yeah,
Okay.
I agree. It looks epic. I would say the costuming looks really impressive. I think
Mhm.
our leading man looks like a hero, and he looks like I don't know, he's not a king, but he looks very royal.
Yeah.
He looks like a leader. Um, and so far, like everything looks good to me.
Mhm.
It is interesting that people are saying there's a lot of AI in it because it's hard to tell what's AI and what's not, which is kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, is this
But the
AI or
music,
is this CGI?
I know it's so difficult to tell, but the music sounded epic. Like I'm glad I
Yeah.
was wearing my headphones because I was hearing the drums, I was hearing the epic music build. So I'm excited about that. That's
Yeah,
for
me
sure.
too. I feel like Hans Zimmer and A.R. Rahman is such a crazy collab. Like,
Yeah.
True.
I'm really looking forward to the music that they'll create out of this. Like, it very much gave that like sweeping feeling that like really lent itself to the epicness of the story. I feel like I maybe you know maybe this is just because I heard about the AI discourse, but I was like, oh yeah, that's AI. But if I hadn't had heard that, maybe I wouldn't have been able to tell. But I feel like for something as important as this story, the effects weren't as great as I would have wanted.
Hmm.
But it still
Which
looks like it's gonna be really
sequences,
cool.
like which sequences to you, maybe Jaylee, just like an eyeballing, because that's like part of the conversation. It would be interesting to
Mhm.
hear. Did
Anything with
like scene?
trolls, like,
Okay.
maybe it's just because I'm very partial to these movies, but I love the Lord of the Rings movies,
Hmm.
and and a lot of that is like practical effects and makeup and stuff that they did to like make the creatures, and it kind of like stood out to me as like, okay, yeah, that's generated. But
Right.
like Emily said, like with the actors and the costuming and the setting as well, looks really cool. It was just like, I wonder if that's what the creatures are gonna look like. They it just seems a little
Mm,
tiny bit out of place to me when everything else is so like um,
Yeah.
human made and carefully crafted. To then see these creatures that are, I'm like, okay, yeah, a computer made that, no doubt about it. I mean, obviously, because those things are like real in our day to day life, but
Right.
um, I wish it was a little bit more realistic, I guess, when it comes to the creatures.
Mm. You know what's interesting with the creatures? So, okay, with the tale of Ramayana, of course, Rama was a prince. So he was going to be, Emily, to be crowned king. And
oh,
he's the oldest son. So there are four sons of the father. I'm going to just do a quick because I don't want to get the names wrong and get butchered. But I'm just going to do a very quick check of Ramayana. Father's name is King Dashrath. Okay, so
mhm.
King Dashrath had four sons: Rama, Bharat, Lakshman, and Shatrughna. And back in the day, of course, kings would have multiple wives. So he had his first wife with two of the sons, and then his second wife has the other two sons. So the first wife has Rama and Lakshman, the other wife has Bharat and Shatrughna. Now, or Shatrughan, I guess. Anyway, the point is that then that the second wife, under the influence of her maid, I guess, who was somewhat, stirring the pot or stirring the tea, she was like, "Oh no, your son should be the king. Why is the first wife's son going to be the
Mm.
king?" And so she, because the second wife was the King Dashrath's favorite, in one of the moments, she basically lands up asking him the impossible, being like, "You have to make my son Bharat the king." And he makes a promise, and he has one of those things back in the day, you make a promise you can't break, and he probably gave her the promise without knowing what she's going to ask, so he makes that promise. And then out of loyalty and fidelity, Rama, being like the righteous noble one, is like, oh, and also not only does she say that my son has to be king, she's like, you got to send Rama and his wife Sita for 14 years in the jungle, like he can't come back. because she
Wow.
doesn't want any competition either.
Girl,
So
that's a big
yeah,
ask.
yeah, no, that was very unreasonable. Now, what happens is that she makes this promise, and she's then like, because I think, to give some history, guys, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm trying to brush up on my Ramayana, but I think she did something to save Dashrath, and he said, I'll give you my word whenever you ask me something. And she lands up asking this insane request and very unreasonable,
Wow.
unfair one. And Rama is like beloved. He's also widely believed to be, well, not in the times, but now looking back religiously, the incarnation of Vishnu. So he's definitely an
Mm.
human avatar, or a god taking on a human avatar. So he has all the qualities that are, things that you would admire in a proper king. But he, being the good son, is like, Dad, I don't want to put you in this position. So he's like, yeah, let's go to the jungle. And so he decides to
Wow.
like give up the throne. And then his brother is like, I'm coming with you. And his wife's like, I'm coming with you too. So the three
Aw.
of them leave. So you see some scenes where in the end you can see them in like that raft. So that, you see like Ram,
Yeah.
like, Ranbir Kapoor looking. Now, there are also some other sequences. So I'm not going to give you the whole story, but I'll give you the sequences to make sense of the narrative. So you see one where he picks up a bow,
Yeah.
and you kind of notice him picking that up. So when back in the day, when people would marry, they would have these elaborate contests to win the marriage of the princess. So one of this, and it's like the woman would choose her husband. So it was called a swayamvar. So you'd have all the suitors show up, and then they would give them an impossible task, kind of to show their prowess or strength or whatever.
I
And
like
then
that.
yeah, and so like the person who's like
New
makes it
talent
is the,
show.
I know. I mean, we need those back. No, I'm kidding. but so the task here was a crazy one. It's like basically, Lord Shiva, the Holy Trinity, Shiva, Brahma. He's the destroyer, Vishnu, the protector, and Brahma. So he has this bow, and this bow is impossible to lift because it's so heavy, and you
It's
have to
really
string
heavy.
the bow. Yeah, so like nobody can really do that because it's a divine, it's like kind of King Arthur picking up the sword from the
Yeah.
stone. So
Okay,
nobody
that
can
was
do
a big
that.
deal.
Yeah.
That scene.
So, except for Rama. So he's able to
Wow.
do that, and they're like, okay, now you can marry Sita. But that's kind of how that scene happens. And then, of course, here's the interesting thing. So, there's a whole tale. I'm not going to go all into it because I don't want this video to be too long. But getting into the whole demons, of course, Ravana, you see in the end a little bit of his entrance. You don't see what's his name, Yash is playing Ravan. You don't see him yet. His introduction probably will be separate, but you see that vehicle that he has, like it's like kind of a bit like a helicopter of sorts, but like it's
Mhm.
like black and gold. So this is called the Pushpakrat. So this is what he uses. So the technology back in the day, or the way it was envisioned to kidnap Sita, because the whole story is
Oh.
Ram
Mm.
marries Sita. They go to the jungle. They're kind of living their nomadic, simple life. And then Ravan lands up lusting after Sita and wants, basically abducts her. And
Oh,
then this whole fight of Ramayana is about getting her back.
wow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Man,
So,
they've already been banished to the jungle, and now you're gonna
they've
lust
had,
for the man's wife?
I know.
It's not right.
It's pretty bad. But anyway, he does abduct her, and then it's a whole rescue mission to get her back, and this whole war. But the interesting thing with the demons that you said, Jaley, so one of the critiques, apart from other scenes where people were like, his hair isn't blowing, when the dust was
Oh,
blowing, and his hair is perfect even though everything else is falling apart. The demons people were very unhappy because it's like you said, Lord of the Rings and other, like, Game of Thrones. People
Yeah.
mhm.
thought they looked too Western. And India has its own tradition, much like, maybe Korea and Japan have their own tradition of demons and rakshas. They're called rakshas. So they're intended to look somewhat more the style that people have, imagined them to be. And it just feels
Gotcha.
like they're too westernized. So they don't like that either.
Mm.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the cultural difference with the movies.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to see that. I think we'll have another video, guys. We'll talk more in depth. We are going to look at one of the critiques of the trailer teaser because, again, guys, we have given our honest views. I honestly think, yes, the music is epic. I agree with you guys. I am excited to see this film. I want to, I'm more of a proponent of giving things a chance until we know what it's going to be about. But I do feel I understand to some extent why people are nervous, especially in the
Mhm.
past with how things have been represented, how close the story is to people's hearts. So, but I think the three of us are more excited about this film, and we want to see what happens when it comes out, and then make our final decisions. I feel I think we're unanimous in that, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It
Yeah.
sounds like an epic
So,
story, and I like that context with like picking up the bow, because I was like, this is a really epic shot for a bow.
yeah,
But when
yeah,
you
Yeah,
tell
you
the
can
story
totally smell
behind it,
that.
it's like, oh,
yeah.
there it is.
I know, just a little bit of context. I'm going to end this because, just to kind of, because we might watch this, or, more, stuff related to this, because this is a highly anticipated film. So basically, Bharat is the brother, right? And he is like, when his mother, like, because he was away or something when this happened, so when he finds out that Ram is about to leave, he is like, I refuse, I'm gonna leave with you. But then Ram's like, no, don't do that. So these brothers love each other even though they're from different mothers, and he basically stops talking to his mom. He's like,
Oh,
I banish you because how dare you do this, how, you know what I mean? So in a way, she suffers for that folly as well. And Bharat, basically, he rules the kingdom, but here's the interesting part. He puts Ram's shoes on the throne, being like, he's the rightful heir. And he decides not
Wow.
to live in the kingdom. He lives in a little hut to be like, I'm waiting on my brother to come back. I'm ruling on his behalf as his representative. So the shoes are on the throne. It's quite beautiful in that,
Yeah, that's
brotherly
really
mhm.
well.
sentiment too. Oh, and Diwali, when we suffer Diwali, or suffer, we celebrate. Sorry, so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. It was a slip of tongue. When we celebrate Diwali, the festival of lights, that's also when Ram came back from the jungle. He returned to the kingdom. So
Mm.
that was very, in Ayodhya. It was a big celebration. Everybody had their little lamps and lights. So yeah.
I
Hmm.
like that a lot. That's like a different take, because I feel like a lot of times when you see a trouble with like succession and like
Hmm.
you always see like the younger brother's like jealous of the older brother, and he's like, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
want to be king. And so
Yeah,
that
I would
makes sense.
say it's interesting with Ramayana, because I think if somebody makes Mahabharata, that would be a very different story. So Ramayana is
Mhm.
intended, like, the way the Indian religious, like context is, like, there are different yugas or centuries, I would say. And this is a century where the idea is that as you go down, like we are now in Kali Yuga, according to the religious text. And it's like the more you go down in time, or as years pass, you're like, things are just deteriorating. So dharma, which is righteousness, was initially in four wheels. So by the time you had Ramayana, it was down to like three. So like things are deteriorating, but people still had certain values they hold sacred. Brotherly love is still evident. When you look at Mahabharata, which is apparently further down the line, so more deterioration in moral character and corruption and evil, so to speak, you see more of the things you're talking about, where like brothers are against each other, and the whole
Mm.
battle is between two cousins where they're like fighting for the throne. So it's a much more, I would say, gray take. And Ramayana is a little more, you see more black and white in terms of
Mhm.
moral uprighted characters, and some I guess people who are getting manipulated, but essentially there's still a lot of integrity left,
Mm.
or at least as the story depicts, guys. But anyway, so I think this was our take. I know I gave a lot of context. I hope it helped. And guys, let us know in the comments below what you thought. I know you will. You won't have to wait for us. We do appreciate it. Follow Emily, Jaley, myself. Our social media links are down below. And do check out the companion video. We're going to have a second part two. We're going to look at an actual critique by an Indian YouTuber. You guys might know him as Jammy Pants. I think he does a good job. So we're going to look at him, and then we're going to give our take on his thoughts, just to get a better picture. So, yeah. All right.
Sweet.
Thank you.
So
Bye.
long.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. See you
Bye.
later.